look at what Dallas did this year in the playoffs, right, where they go and they add Chris Tanev. You can add defensemen. Now Chris Tanev, whatever, is 33, 34 years old, whatever it is, right? You can, and that was an in-season trade. For whatever reason it is, it's easier to go and add that defensive stabilizer along the way. For whatever reason, it's just the way this sport kind of plays out. But when you go and when we talk about big forwards that move, other than free agency where you obviously overpay, it doesn't really, those guys, for whatever reason, they tend to kind of stay put. And if you're going to get them, and this is when you get them, you got to try to get them now. You try to get them that you get them young on their ELC, and then you can kind of build from there. So I agree with your point on that, where it's, if you're looking at the long-term build for the Blackhawks, and at some point you're going to need a stabilizing defenseman. Maybe you have that in-house, maybe you don't already. You can probably find that piece a little bit easier at some 3 to 4 years from now when you need to take that next step than trying to get a game-breaking forward coming off of and especially on the cheap on an entry-level contract and maybe on a bridge, or who knows what the time looks like. So it's a really good point, because you don't want to be Detroit. And like, I live in Detroit, so I see this, right? Like, one of the biggest questions about Detroit is like, where is the game-breaking forward going to come from? Like, that's one of the biggest questions. When Detroit didn't win the lottery, and now they're kind of taking this next step in their rebuild, and they kind of go through everything. And yeah, Lucas Raymond's going to get a nice extension soon. He's been good, but Detroit missed their window to take that guy, and they also never won a lottery the proper way to do that. And so you don't want to be, when you have the opportunity to do that, to avoid the problem that's happening in Detroit, where the question is, where is that game breaker? Where is he coming from? How do we get him? If you have the chance to take him, that's why at number 2, you really need to capitalize. And if you're the Blackhawks right now.
We all silly like the mayor.